Well, hello there.
Hello?
So you want to do a civil war, huh?
We are in a cold civil war, to a potential civil war. People might say I'm a little alarmist when I mention a potential civil war. I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of people who look at the title of this video and say something like, Tim's being hyperbolic. It may not be as extreme as it was in the 1800s. I'm not saying it's gonna be like, 1800s. It's not gonna be like it was in the 1800s. Many people have referred to the coming of the Second American Civil War. Something civil war. Talk of civil war. We're in a civil war. We are in a civil war. Civil war for a second civil war.
At least that's what I hear Tim Pool and a bunch of other people in the media talking about. Greg Gutfeld and people on MSNBC and stuff like that, talking about a civil war or...
What do Syria, Sri Lanka, Yemen, Iraq, Ukraine, and the former Yugoslavia have in common? They're all places that have recently suffered through some of the worst civil wars in modern history. Violent upheavals that have ultimately killed or displaced millions of people, while most Americans have watched from afar. But a political scientist who has studied those civil wars and been to many of those countries says that the United States is now on a path to joining them. Sounds crazy, right? On this show, we talk a lot about coups and insurrections and domestic extremism. But at what point do we even consider speaking seriously about the next level? Because worse than all of those things is open, bloody, violent civil war. And it sounds crazy for me to even say that it's possible. But I'm not Dr. Barbara F. Walter. No, not Barbara Walters, the journalist. Barbara F. Walter, a professor at the University of California, San Diego, who has studied civil wars and their causes since 1990.
Barbara Walter is a professor of international relations at the School of Global Policy and Strategy at the University of California, San Diego. She joins me now, and I'm delighted. I mean, when we look at the research, it's frankly frightening, and you conclude that the US is, quote, closer to civil war than any of us would like to believe. How close?
Well, I've been studying civil wars for the last 30 years across the globe. And in fact, the last 4 years, I've been on a task force run by the CIA that tries to predict where outside the United States a civil war, political violence, and instability is likely to break out. And we actually know now that the two best predictors of whether violence is likely to happen are whether a country is an anocracy, and that's a fancy term for a partial democracy, and whether ethnic entrepreneurs have emerged in a country that are using racial, religious, or ethnic divisions to try to gain political power.
Shut up, bitch!
A peaceful divorce. And with Tim Pool lately, every video he talks about, it's like that game, How Many Steps to Kevin Bacon? I forget how, it was like 5 steps to Kevin Bacon or something like that. It's the same with Tim Pool and Civil War. You can watch a video that's completely unrelated that he's doing himself, and it'll get to Civil War. Just give it some time, it'll get there. I'm gonna start leaving comments and downvotes every time he talks about Civil War. I'm getting so sick and tired of it. First, you have a bunch of talking heads, right, that don't do anything. Tim Pool's a good example. And for the record, I like Tim Pool on certain things. There's some topics where I think he's spot on, and then there's some topics where I think he's completely off base. But occasionally he'll hit it right, and he has some good guests on there, and definitely some meme-worthy moments and things like that. I definitely don't think he should be being swatted or bomb threats right now. And hopefully they catch whoever's doing that. But the Civil War talk's gotta fucking stop. It's out of hand and it's irresponsible. And to my first point, there is gonna be no shortage of talking heads for Civil War. If you watch The Patriot, the Mel Gibson movie, there's a scene where the guy's talking to Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's playing Swamp Fox, who's a veteran of the French and Indian War. They did a lot of violence and terrible, horrible things to each other because it was a war. So he's like, hey, let's not do another war. And I think the Revolutionary War was justified. It's why we have a country. But the people were calling him a coward.
If you mean by patriot, am I angry about taxation without representation? Well, yes, I am. Should the American colonies govern themselves independently? I believe they can, and they should. But if you're asking me, am I willing to go to war with England? Well, then the answer is most definitely no.
This from the same Captain Benjamin Martin, whose fury was so famous during the Wilderness Campaign?
I was intemperate in my youth.
Temperance can be a convenient disguise for fear.
The guy who stacked bodies. So there's going to be no shortage of people like that that are urbanites or people that are only good at talking and not good at doing. And in Tim Pool's case, he's really good at buying guns and moving out of the city to a place that's in the middle of nowhere. Now, I'll give him credit. Most people won't do that. And he raises chickens. He's really settled in there, which is nice. You don't see that a lot. And it's refreshing. But it's also given him a false sense of his own capabilities. He thinks because he has firearms that he's going to be able to do things. And that's not the case. And Tim is not about that life, trust me. You know who else is not about that life? About 80 to 90% of the population. Even if they're talking about civil war, gun owners, extreme hard leftists, and all this other stuff, you're not going to find a whole lot of people that are actually willing and capable of doing violence. Violence is a terrible, awful thing. And the reality of violence is somehow increasingly easier to talk about despite the amount of media that's out there and how easy it is to go on Live Leak or something like that and watch someone get decapitated by the cartels with a chainsaw or something like that. Despite the ability to find how awful violence is, most people still talk about it like it's nothing. And when you have to do violence, which I've never done in my life, I just listen to my friends who have, they tell me stories. Doing violence is an awful thing. And you do get desensitized to it as you do more of it, but you don't get to pick how violence happens in a civil war. A lot of people ignore all of the civil wars that are going on right now. And just like the advocates for socialism, it'll be different when we do it, but it's not. It's not going to be different when you do it. It's going to be just as violent, just as terrible. There's going to be people like...
Ready to fire the town on your order, sir.
The town? Burn the church.
There's no honor in this.
Didn't you say all those who stand against England deserve to die a traitor's death? Burn the church.
Burn the church. And there's going to be people that are like, hey, those almost fighting age teenagers over there should probably go too. You know, shit like that, like awful, terrible things that people would try to convince you to do, right? These talking heads will be nowhere to be found. Also, they're unwittingly parroting things that other people, our adversaries, World Economic Forum types, Soros types, you know, China, Russia, Iran, essentially, want to see the United States fail.
Just let the animals wipe themselves out. God willing. Fuck them. Everybody who looks like them.
And there's other countries who pretend to be our friends, but they're not, really, they're just scared of us, who also want to see us fail. So they're going to secretly stoke things that are anti-American via Facebook and information warfare, just the whole fifth generation warfare thing. So when you start saying, oh, we should do a civil war, you're really just being a pawn for someone. And I'm not about that life. So I'm not going to be doing... and I know the jokes are going to come in because of what I do for a living, but I'm not going to be some pawn for someone that wants to see the downfall of the United States. It's just not going to happen for me. So between the talking heads and the people that are feeding those talking heads the talking points to start to get us to hate each other and try to kill each other for their benefit, not ours, it becomes a very self-defeating enterprise very quickly. Also, once you start a civil war, it's not over. And a civil war is not going downtown for 2 hours, fucking around a little bit, and then coming back, right? I've said this line before. It's not like you get to go do civil war, go get Chick-fil-A and Starbucks on your way home, and then chill. They're not going to be picking up the fucking garbage. There's going to be trash in the streets, dead bodies. You're not going to have services. You're not going to be able to go to the grocery store. You're not going to be able to do any of the things that you have learned to do. The last civil war in the United States was fought by people who lived off the land. And even if they lived in a city, they were still capable of living off the land. If someone outside of the city wanted dinner, they had to go get their chicken, cut its head off, clean it, dress it, cook it, eat it. All that effort, right? Right now, you just go buy it. You bring it home and you cook it. That's it. There's very few people that live hard anymore. You're not built for this, I promise. I'm not fucking built for it. I've deployed, they've punched me in a tent for a couple weeks, and that's a couple weeks. It's not even like my friends that are in the Army or the Marines where you find a fucking hole to sleep in, right? They put us Navy boys in the tent. So I'm definitely not built for this life. There's shit I can do, there's stuff I've learned how to do, I'm still learning. I know my ass isn't gonna last very long, and I haven't really done too much shit, but I know if you're not on my level, you've done way less, or you've experienced no hardship, you're definitely not about it. And it's mostly soft-ass people who don't know how to talk shit out that immediately jump to violence like a fucking child. So you got these people with multicolored hair, and then you got these fuds that are just like, oh, we should just have a civil war. You know, and it's not gonna go the way either side's thinking it's gonna go. And on top of that, you have people that think they know better. You know, I'm more righteous. I'm more morally superior to these people. I know the way to do it. Same thing I said earlier. It's different when we do it. So the same people that think they have all the answers, they're arrogant and narcissistic enough to think they have the fucking answers for everybody, are gonna go in there, not take care of people that are actually responsible, but they'll just start shooting people they don't like. Like, oh, that person has multicolored hair. Oh, this person looks different than me. I'm just gonna kill everyone that I just don't like, right? Some bullshit like that. And it won't even be effective. It'll just be carnage and chaos, which is unacceptable. Absolutely disgusting, despicable behavior. But you know what? They'll know better than you. And they're gonna, in turn, become the same, if not worse, authoritarians than the people that they tried to replace. Because that's human nature. It's scattered throughout human history that very few people are actually as good as they say they are. There's very few people that are like, I am here for the good of the people and I will do the things for the people. Most people are like, I am here for the good of the people and I will do the things that keep me in power and keep me paid. So that's your politicians, that's people you go to the gym with, that's random people everywhere. They're people you look at and see and have interactions with and you're like, oh, that's a good person, until it's a life or death survival situation. Then their real face comes out, the mask comes off and you get to see who they really are. And all the people that say they're gonna show up, the Revolutionary War was fought by what, 7% of the population, something like that? My number won't be perfect, but plus or minus, it's a small percentage, a single-digit percentage, and everyone's like, why so few? Because people are bitch-made. They're not really about it. They can talk, they can't do anything. They'll say they're gonna show up and then they won't. So about 80% of the people are out right there. Then you're gonna have some people that watched Instagram a lot and all this other shit and they think they're hard. And they're gonna show up and then they're gonna realize what hard is. They're gonna realize, oh, I have to dig a hole of shit in? Oh, I'm not going home for 7 weeks? Oh, there's no air conditioning out here? I have to find my food, it's not provided for me? Oh, that's what a dead body looks like? And the list goes on and on. All those people are gonna fall out because they're not hard and they don't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie, I've been in the field probably 2 weeks tops and it sucked. So I can probably make it 2 weeks because I know how to do it. 3 weeks? I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to figure something out. There's people that are way harder than me that know what the reality of those are. And there's people way softer than me that don't and think they do. And then there's people just like me who are probably gonna get killed the 3rd or 4th week. It is what it is. The other things you have to consider are, how many magazines do you have loaded? These are my fuck it mags. I have like 30 mags loaded with M855 just for my 20-inch. And then I've got 15 or 16 mags full of Mark 318. I've got 20 mags full of 77 grain TMK. They're loaded, just ready to go. They're in different kits, they're in different places. But you know what? That can run out real fast. So are you even supplied? And more importantly, are you even in shape and condition to do this stuff in the first place? None of these questions people ask each other. They also don't ask, hey, is there an easier or peaceful solution to this? No, they're just like, oh, we need a civil war. Shut the fuck up. Like, you're not gonna do what needs to be done. You're not gonna do anything meaningful either. You're just gonna kill each other over nothing. And what people always fail to realize in this world, it's easy to go to just being angry at each other and saying ugly things to each other. But what everybody forgets is that everyone on this planet is just trying to find a place for themselves, trying to find out who they are and make an impact, or just get through life and just find a way. Every person's a human being. There are some people on this planet that are just hell-bent on doing horrible, evil things, and they need to be dealt with legally, or, you know, if we have to go to war to kill another Hitler or something like that. But most people are generally either neutral or good people, and they're just trying to find their way in this world. And usually I've diffused so many situations where hotheads have gone in and made it worse, and I walked in and I just talked to somebody like a person. Like, hey man, tell me what's going on. And it might start with them saying, hey, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you. And you're like, cool, I don't want to be here either, but here we are, let's talk to each other. Let's see if we can find a different way around this so we can put our guns away. I'm not always successful, and you might not be either. But you know what? I've gotten through a lot in life, figuring out how to just sit down and talk to people. And yes, sometimes anger gets the better of you, and sometimes talking shit is just more fun than talking it out, right? Everybody loves to talk shit. It's an art form.
Let's have a Donnybrook!
Pump the brakes. You take your shirt off, but leave your sunglasses on.
What sort of backwards fucking pageantry is that?
You gonna fight with those shades or play PokerStars.com?
But I promise you, if you pull this Civil War genie out of the bottle, it's not going back in there. And it's gonna be brutal and violent, and then we're gonna get invaded by Russia and China.
China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China.
And the dudes in the comments the last time I said this in my update video forever back said it before Russia invaded Ukraine. They will absolutely take advantage of a civil war here. People actively want the US to fail. There are so many countries that have vested interest in our failure as the United States. And advocating for civil war is childish and irresponsible. Hey.
Fuck you.
We are not remotely close. There are so many easy things. Both the left and the right have secured victories with grassroots efforts. All right? There are things that we found to be absolutely disgusting, which led to the victory in Virginia, or Supreme Court decisions, or laws getting put in place because people can't stop teaching kids about sex. So there's things that happen, right? The society sees something they don't like, they organize, they get it implemented. There are so many other countries where that's not the case. And there are so many examples of countries across the world where civil war has torn them apart, and it has become the status quo. It's just civil war is how you get regime change there. Places in Africa. And I don't know if you've looked at Burma or any of those other Southeast Asian countries, but it gets bad. There's a lot of small countries over there that do horrible, terrible things, like that Rambo movie. So there's plenty of shit to go around. The United States does not have it that bad. We have it rough right now. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. Inflation's terrible, gas is terrible, all the other stuff does not mean we need to start shooting each other. We just need to get our heads on straight, get everybody going in a good direction, and rise up and carry people forward. I'm telling you right now, no one is ready for the level of violence that will take place. And everybody's so assured of their victory that their arrogance is blinding them from the reality. The left or the right is not going to win a civil war. It's going to be outside entities that come in and sweep the shit up while everybody's divided. You know who will lose though? Americans and the 80% that's in the middle. The 10% on either side is more than happy and willing to talk us into conflict and watch the world burn, while 80% of people are just going to sit there and be the true victims of the situation. So people need to stop talking about civil war. They need to get that shit out of their mouth, and they need to realize the gravity of the implications of a civil war. It's not going to be just this happy frolic thing that, oh, we're just going to implement the changes we want. You're going to be the same, if not worse, tyrant that you're trying to replace. So it's better just to work hard to try to fix it and do the hard shit now than do the even harder shit that nobody's ready for, because no one's going to come out on top and everyone will lose. And then we're all going to be slaves to Klaus Schwab and George Soros. So you think about what you want to do. What's more important to you? Your air conditioning, your way of life, and a little bit of discomfort and some work you have to do? Or do you want to be eating grass because you've run out of food and you've shit your pants because you can't move because you're outnumbered and people are shooting at you? Which would you prefer? That's my piece. Thanks for watching. Take care out there.